Hello everybody, welcome back to Erndale's. I wasn't intending to do a video, but not for a week or so, but I kind of missed doing this, so I decided to put together some clips for you, just different things in the house here, and do a video. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you very much, so much for all the beautiful comments that I got on my last video. You are so wonderful, so warm and caring, and I so appreciate all your beautiful comments and all your encouragement. It means a great deal to me. So thank you so much for all that. I was just kind of blown away from such love coming across from you all. I had my surgery. Everything went fine. I had a tiny little glitch, but nothing earth-shattering. I will find out the results of my surgery in a couple of weeks, but I'm not worried about it. I think everything will be fine. The little glitch was kind of funny, actually. The anesthesiologist, and I had talked to the anesthesiologist a month or so ago, and he'd gone through my whole history, you know, because I've had major surgery before and been under anesthesia, you know, all this kind of stuff that they go through. But when I saw him face to face in the hospital just prior to my surgery, he kept asking me if I had sleep apnea, and I said, no, not to my knowledge, I don't. And he asked me if I snore, and I said, well, you know, my husband says I do, but it's kind of a joke between my husband and I, you know, because he snores terribly. And I says, but I really don't know, you know, if I snore or not. So off I go into the surgery, and when I woke up in recovery, I had a tube sticking out of my mouth. Now, I'm a retired nurse, and as I was waking up and realized that this tube was in my mouth, I'm thinking to myself, I didn't go in there with a tube in my mouth, so why do I have a tube in my mouth? And as I'm thinking this, his head pops, the anesthesiologist's head pops into my vision. He's sort of looking over me, and he says, you have severe sleep apnea. He says, you quit breathing a couple of times. And he was kind of ragging on me, actually. And I says, well, I didn't know that. So, you know, he's going on and on that, you know, this could be dangerous. You know, it's not good for your heart. It's not good for your lungs. And you need to go on a study and all this, which I already know. So at some point, I'm going to have to go for the sleep study. And I'll probably end up with this CPAC at night. Like, it's not uncommon anymore for this kind of thing. But I do, like I told him, I do have some issues when I sleep, but it's not, I didn't think it was that I wasn't breathing. It was, I have a deviated septum. My nose was broken when I was just probably like 5 or 6 years old. My older brothers were playing croquet, and I got in the way of a mallet, and one of my brothers hit me here and broke my nose. And I didn't even know that I had had a broken nose until years later. I think when I was in my 40s, I was having a terrible sinus problem. And the doctor sent me for a CT. And when I went back for my results, he says, when did you break your nose? And I honestly didn't know. I had to ask my family, and they said, oh yeah, well, you know, when I hit you with the croquet mallet, you had bleeding. And anyway, so I do have some problems, especially when I sleep. And I have a lot of allergies, and I have a bit of asthma too. So I just thought that, you know, my sleeping, sometimes I wake up and I'm coughing or gasping, but I never thought it was something like that. Anyway, it's not the end of the world. I will deal with it at some point and get it fixed. But otherwise, everything was just fine. So I've been taking it easy. Taking it easy for me is not laying in bed with a book or anything like that. Taking it easy for me is being up here in my studio, puttering around, doing a few things. I'm not doing any lifting or anything like that, but I am stitching, and I am doing a bit of knitting, and finishing up some pieces of crumb blocks that I've been working on. And of course, my brain's been going nonstop. So I will show you what I've been up to and what I've got going. And our weather here has been horrible. We've had 4 weeks of rain, and we are in really big trouble with some flooding issues. It's just been horrible, and I can't get my plants out there. It's daytime temps are not even getting to 10 degrees Celsius, and nights are hovering, you know, pretty low, around freezing, almost like 1 or 2. So we have a lot of drying out to do, and I don't think it's going to be anytime soon that gardening is going to be a thing that we can do. It's so soggy wet out there, it's terrible. And it's not supposed to be any better for the rest of the month. So I'm just going to concentrate on things up here in the studio and sort of kind of forget about gardening until I can actually get in the garden. Right now, I don't even think I could get there. So this video is going to be kind of a mishmash of different clips here and there. I hope you enjoy it. And again, thank you very much for your support and your love. I do appreciate so very much. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I will see you again very, very soon. Bye for now. It's so nice to have my dining room back again. Boy, I've forgotten what it looked like without plants all over the place. And that's because I moved them into the kitchen. So I moved all the plants that I've been growing for outside into the kitchen. It's number one, it's closer to the door, but we've had so much rain. We've had 3-4 weekends of rain, and I'm talking torrential rains. It's so wet outside, and it's so cold. It's only, our highs are only around 10 Celsius, and our overnight lows are getting colder instead of warmer. So we have frost still, a chance of frost, and I just can't put these out yet. By now I would be able to put this stand and the cover on it and put it outside and leave my plants outside in the winter. Excuse me, overnight. And then I could, you know, unzip and open up the cover and let them get acclimatized to the outdoors, but I can't do that here. So yeah, I'm stuck with all these big plants, and I'm really afraid that I'm going to lose some of them before I can actually get them planted. So I'll show you what I've got here. These are tomatoes. Look how tall they are. Oh my gosh. They're so spindly. Like they should have been outside already for weeks. These are annuals, flowers, and then there's peppers. Look at how big the peppers are back there. They're huge. Some more sweet peas. I have seeded sweet peas in the garden already, but I also do them this way. These here are all annuals. I don't even know what they are. Back there, I've got some brassicas. These are tomatoes. Some more annuals, a whole bunch of annuals. Lots of annuals. I mean, that's packed, just like this one is. It's just packed in there. These are peppers here. And behind the peppers, down in there, there's some more annuals. And then look at the cucumbers. They're flowering. I mean, they should have been outside a long time ago. And they actually have, some of them have little cucumbers growing on them. Look at here. See, look at. Isn't this ridiculous? They're inside the house. Where did it go? It's hiding on me. Look at that. It's crazy. And then I have a few more tomatoes back there. These ones aren't doing so hot. But by now, these would have been outside. Not planted, but outside on this thing. Just getting nice and hardy and getting used to the weather. All of this was in my dining room before, because the dining room faces south, and so I grew them all in that south window. But now they're facing north, and hopefully I can start taking them outside. It's just got to get a bit warmer overnight. 2 Celsius is too cold for these plants to be outside overnight. So that's my jungle. I just got to keep them going for another week or two, I think. A couple of videos back, I when I bought my sewing machine, I bought a pack of, I think it was fat quarters of different materials, and I was going to make a baby quilt out of it. So this is as far as I've gotten with the quilt. This is the disappearing 4-patch pattern, and I kind of like how it's turning out. I still can't quite figure out how that green leaves things goes with the rest of this, but it's okay. Actually, it does add a little depth. There are a few squares in here that I'm going to swap out. I've got a little bit of all the fabric left over, so I think I'm going to swap out a couple of these checkered ones. To me, there's a little bit too much checkered and dots. I want a little bit deeper colors, so I'll see. I'm still moving them around and seeing what I like. So this is about 40 by 47 now. I have not sewn these squares together. I have to square them all off first, but they are all squares now. It's not pieces anymore. And I'm going to do a sashing around. And I was thinking of maybe doing a very, very pale yellow, or even actually a color like this is kind of nice too. I want to make it sort of neutral because I don't know what the baby's going to be, a boy or girl. And this would fit for either, I think. So this is where I've gotten with my baby quilt so far. I'm quite happy with the way it's working out. And I like this pattern. It's very easy to do, and it makes kind of a cute little quilt. So that's my progress on the baby quilt. I'm going to start squaring off these squares now and start sewing it together and see where I go. So this is where the plants, some of the plants, were up on this table here in front of this south-facing window. And up here in my studio, I had things like brassicas and cucumbers and things like that growing. So that's all gone down, as I just showed you. It's all in the kitchen, and I have my table back. Now this table, I don't actually work at this table, but I actually organize myself on this table. I'll show you. On here are all the projects that I'm working on at present. I have a million other started projects, don't get me wrong, but these are the ones that I'm working on right now. So I'll just show you. These are the crumb squares that I was starting to do with Darlene Michon, and my original idea was to do a baby quilt with the sayings in them, but I've changed my mind about that part of it. I'm still going to do this quilt, but I'm not going to make it into a baby quilt. I'm just going to do a regular quilt. The ones with the sayings on, like I've showed you in another video, I'm going to do in 9.5-inch squares. So I'm going to have each square have a saying of some kind and then turn it into a 9.5-inch square. And it's not going to be for a baby, it's going to be for a child. I've changed my mind on that too. So I have two that I'm sort of building the square. And then I finished a couple of more of the sayings. Here's one that I did. This is Dr. Seuss. And this is another one. And I'm still working on a couple, well, I've got a few more to do. But these ones will go into this quilt, to the children's quilt, okay? So there's one quilt there, one quilt there. I showed you the quilt that I'm working on downstairs. Then over here, I started this project in the middle of the winter. This was a pair of blue jeans, and I've sewed them, cut the legs off, and I've sewed them into a bag. And I have the lining all done with the pockets. I made a whole bunch of pockets, and this is going to be a big take-along knitting bag. You know, if I go into the city to see my son for the weekend or whatever, I can stuff a bunch of projects in here because I don't work on one project. I never work on one project. I always work on plenty. But what I want to do with this now, I have the strap made. It's going to be an over-the-shoulder type bag. And I've marked the places where I'm going to put my closing snaps here. But what I want to do now to this is I want to do some slow stitching on here and fussy it up. you know, make it me, make flowers and birds and all this. So this is going to be a while before I get this done. So I want to muck it up. Maybe do some applique, some embroidery on both sides. You know, make it kind of me. So it's got pockets on both sides, so I can have a great time working on this. And yes, when I closed the bottom and squared it off, I should have done it this way so that the front of the jeans was the front of the bag, but I didn't. I did it this way. No matter. It's for me. I don't care. I've made so many of these jean purses, and I've always used the front as the front, but for some reason this one got messed up. It's just fine. So that's another project on the go. I've cut out a Tilda angel. I've made quite a few of these. They're a free pattern on the internet. I have to frame this. This is a cross stitch that my aunt did years and years ago, and my cousin gave it to me. This is probably, I would say, 80 or 90 years old, this piece. So I want to frame it and put it up here in my studio. And then I have this that I started. I've done some work to it, but I want to do some fancy work on the front of it still. So that's to be done. In the meantime, I've knit some dishcloths, so I have to finish them. I'm going to take these downstairs and just put this in when I'm watching TV or something, which I very seldom do. So I made myself 3 dishcloths, and this is some more crumb pieces that I've started, so I can add, I might add some of these sayings to some of these pieces. So I've got some started, plus I've got a whole bunch at the sewing machine that I'm working on. Hubby's gloves, they need to be finished. Just all I have to do is close up the fingers and sew all the ends in. That I can take downstairs to my chair. And this is for the baby journal that I'm working on. All of this is for that. And I found this is the little bonnet that I wanted to put on the cover. And for the life of me, I went through every bonnet I have and I couldn't find it. And finally, I found this in the most ridiculous place. So this is going to go on the cover. Maybe the booties too. I'll show you that as I get going on it. Right now, I'm kind of putting that aside. Babies aren't due till October, so I got lots of time to work on that. And then over here at my stitching table, I am still stitching on some more things for my little blanket, and I've got a few more already written out here that I'm going to stitch. So that is more to be done. But while I'm here, I want to show you a book that actually my husband picked it up. Let's let me grab it for a second here. We were at a thrift store years ago, maybe 15 years ago, and it was the same day that I bought my old Singer treadle machine. And I spotted this treadle machine, and I was hanging on to it so nobody else would take it. And my husband comes up to me with this book, and he says, "Oh, here, I think you need this book." And I thought, what? You know, he never did that kind of thing before. He said, "Yeah, it's a complete encyclopedia of stitchery." And I said, "Oh yeah, okay, whatever." Because at the time I was doing cross stitch, but I wasn't doing slow stitch or embroidery kind of things. Anyway, I looked at it and I said, "Okay, I'll get it." It was, I think, 50 cents or something like that. So I brought it home, put it on the shelf, never really looked at it. And then a couple of years ago, I thought I was looking for some kind of, it was a special crochet stitch is what I was looking for. And I thought, oh, go look in that book that he gave me. Wow, what a treasure chest. The embroidery section is massive in here. There is, I'll show you. This is all embroidery stitches. Every embroidery stitch I think known to man is in here. It is a wonderful, and it shows you very clearly how to do each stitch. It's amazing. But there's also crocheting, and again, every kind of stitch you could imagine. This is the crochet section, embroidery, and then we come to knitting. Where does it start? It does applique. Here's knitting, part 3. This is all knitting in here. Every knit stitch that you could imagine is in here. Then rug making. I think I missed something. Oh, macrame. After knitting comes macrame. Oh dear, my hands aren't working. Of course, I'm doing this with one hand again. This is still here, a whole section on macrame. And then rug making, and then sewing, and tatting. So it's a wonderful book, and to think that I was really kind of not all that excited that he picked this up for me at the time, but now it stays on my table here, and it's my go-to book. And as you can see, I'm marking stuff all the time, you know, that I want, that I'm going to go back to over and over. So thank you, Gary. That was so, I should remind him about this and thank him again, because it really is a really good book. Sorry. So that's the things that I've been doing while I've been convalescing. And I've been keeping busy. And then yesterday, my brother sent me, they've been doing renovations in their kitchen, and he sent me a picture of part of the kitchen. And he's got this nice big wall. And I thought, oh, that would be great for a nice piece of art. And I have something in mind. So I am going to start drawing out something. I'm doubling this, and I'm going to draw it out. This is just freezer paper, so I can work right on this. I'm going to draw it out on one side, and then I can stick my fabric on the other side as I go. Anyway, that's sort of how I've been convalescing. This is what I do. You know, they told me to take it easy. They didn't say that I had to stay in bed. They just told me that go home, take it easy for a few days. So that's what I've been doing. This is my taking it easy. And then over here, this is scrap heaven. Or maybe it's scrap hell. I'm not quite sure, but plenty of scraps anyway. I know a lot of my viewers also are viewers of Kate Jackson, Last Homely House. And her last video, last week, she was talking about a denim jacket that she was going to make. And when she started talking about this, my mind flew back to one that I wanted to make. So I just thought I would share this with you, because this is it's still a denim jacket, but it's maybe for people who don't do a lot of sewing. This is a good alternative to Kate's jacket. So this one, I've had this book since, what is the year on this? 2008. I subscribed to this crochet magazine back then. And this one is one that I've always wanted to do. And you only need the jeans for the back part, for this bottom part. The rest is all crocheted out of your stash, whatever, you know, you've got left over. You can do it in whatever color you want. And I love it. I totally love it. And for me, this would be more fitting for our climate. So I'll show you the front of it. Now, where is it? I had it marked. Okay, that's the back. And there's the front. Isn't it adorable? Very good instructions on how to put it together. So I think that you could maybe find this online in the archive of these crochet magazines. This is September 2008, crochetmagazine.com. I'm not sure, but I think you might, I can get into the archives. You might have to pay something for this one magazine, but if you really wanted the book, it would be worth it. So yeah, and it goes up to size 2X, so you know you can make it for any size person. I love this one too. I love Kate's idea as well, but I think for me this would be more what I would be wearing, something like this. So that's just something I thought I would share with you too.